Welcome back to Romantasy Chaos HQ, the podcast. We are Avery and Xavier Harleston, healthcare professionals by day, romantasy theorists, and aspiring authors by night. Today, we have a special bonus episode for our inaugural Love is That Wilt Week, a celebration of inclusive love in the romantasy space. But first, this is your warning. We are not rated E for everyone. We will discuss adult topics using adult language on today's episode. That said, today we're joined by a very special guest, Jacqueline Carey, award-winning fantasy author of 19 books, including the Kushiel's Legacy series, which starts with Kushiel's Dart. Will you tell us about yourself before I go overboard and start gushing?
Um, well, I am really excited to be here celebrating the 25th anniversary of the release of Kushiel's Start. Um, I'm a lifelong fantasy reader and writer, and I'm one of the few who's actually been able to make a living at it, and I feel incredibly fortunate to be able to do what I love for a living.
Well, we love reading your books. We feel so incredibly lucky to be speaking with you today, especially on the coming right up. This is going to release on the actual anniversary of the publication. And this was your debut novel, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It's
Now,
like,
okay, the secret to writing an incredibly polished debut novel is to have a few what we used to call trunk novels that never see the light of day, which is probably not an encouraging thing to say to aspiring writers. So it's not the first book I wrote, but it is the first book that was published. And the ones that were not will never see the light of day, nor should they.
but they were like, it was like you exercise. You kind of have to work those
Absolutely.
muscles.
Yeah,
And then,
100%.
so I like to remind myself, we're writing a book together. It's written. We're actually working on a duology, but our first book we're written. We're very close to being ready to query. We think. But prior to writing a book together, I had started and abandoned so many novels. But having now like made a whole book, it's just astounding that there are people who do this like it's all day, every day. This is what you do. And it's I just so in awe of it, because especially when you have something that's so captivating and has really like captured um just an entire like generation of readers. Like it's amazing. But before we get into all of that, in keeping with our normal time constrained uh model for our typical episodes,
Mhm.
we want to do a very quick 1 minute rapid fire get to know you questions.
Right.
So we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock. And if you are ready, we will start.
And go.
What is your order at the coffee shop?
Chai latte.
What's the most unexpected thing you have discovered in your travels?
Uh, Most unexpected thing. Um, the first thing that comes to mind is, surprisingly, how much I liked chapulines, crickets in
Oh,
Mexico. They're delicious.
oh, we we had an au pair from Brazil when we had five very small children, and she was like obsessed with like all of the different insects that we don't eat in the U.S. She's like, why don't you?
Yeah.
It's delicious. What's the first car you ever owned?
1967 Oldsmobile convertible. So, like your grandma, but cool.
You live in Western Michigan now.
Hmm.
I was gonna say, what's your favorite and least favorite thing about being a Michigander?
Favorite, it's a tremendously beautiful state. I'm right on the coast of Lake Michigan, so we have gorgeous natural dune areas. We've got the whole lake. Uh, Least favorite, I live in a very liberal island in a rather conservative sea, so
Yeah. Yeah, we lived in Jackson, Mississippi for a decade, so
okay. The
little
struggle
blue
is
dot
real.
in experience. One of the things, since our timer went off, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, we originally talked about whether you might be able to fan cast some of our favorite characters from the Kushiel's Legacy series, and you said you kinda gave a very interesting response, and I'd love to hear more about your thoughts about that.
Okay, I'm really bad at playing the fan casting game. And it is honestly, I mean, at this point, I could say it's because everybody I would have cast 25 years ago has aged out of those roles, which happens every 5 years or so. But honestly, I would want just wildly talented unknowns. So I would say that, and people would be like, yeah, okay, that's a boring answer. And then when Orphan Black kind of came on the scene, and we were like, "Oh, who is this actress, Tatiana Maslany, who's such a revelation, playing all these characters?" I'm like, "That's who I want, the next Tatiana Maslany." And fans were all like, "She said she wants Tatiana Maslany to play her heroine." I'm like, "No."
That is
So
such a good answer, though.
I
She's
know.
amazing. I
Orphan Black is, like, such a brilliant show. She's so good in it.
I know.
Yeah.
We don't even watch that much TV, so the fact that you brought that up, a show that we have watched, it's like,
Right
uh,
on.
so funny. So this is the 25th anniversary
Mhm.
of the publication of your very first novel, which was published June 20 2001. So
2001.
can you give us a little spoiler-free summary of, Kushiel Start?
In a nutshell, the heroine, Phaedra, is sold into indentured servitude as a child and raised to become a courtesan spy by a morally gray nobleman. When she discovers a plot, or uncovers a plot that threatens the entire realm, she is immediately betrayed, sent off into captivity and exile with just one uptight warrior priest as her sole companion, and they have to find their way, out of captivity, home, and to find help to prevent their realm from being destroyed.
It's so good. It's so good. Like, um, honestly,
Mm,
honestly, we talk about it all the time. It's
yeah.
I have a hard time getting started. Why don't you your question? Because I'm, like, lost right now.
You I love you. I've never seen her get sucked into a book or a series like she got sucked into this one. Like, it's like all of a sudden she just disappeared, and then she came back, and then it's her new Roman Empire. So, and we now see it everywhere, which is, really interesting to us, where did this all, start? Like, why what was the generation for this? Is this such a depth of world building, and like, was this, in your head for a decade, or like, where did it all come from?
Yeah, there's no one answer to it. Part of it is a lifelong interest in theology and mythology. Part of it is quite simply a trip to the south of France, where I absolutely fell in love with the landscape and the quality of the light, and some of the writing reflects that. Some of it is the absolute mystery of fiction with a capital M. I don't know where Phaedra No Delaunay came from. Just and the decision was, "Oh my gosh, can I write a character that subversive?" And I decided it was worth trying it.
Yes, the answer
So,
is yes. Yes, you can.
yeah.
Um, and just so that everyone knows, this starts with kind of a trilogy that follows Phaedra, and then there's a second trilogy that follows another character that I won't say because it's a little bit of a spoiler. And then so I've just started into that trilogy.
Okay.
It was my reward for getting through the end of the school year.
Good reward.
We survived, and now I get to have my new obsession. And then there's a a third trilogy after that,
Hmm.
and um, then there was also like the most recent book in this world that was published was Cassiel's Servant,
Right.
which um, is a
The uptight warrior
retelling.
priest we mentioned earlier.
Yes, it's a retelling of some of the events of the very
Yeah.
first book, plus his backstory.
Hmm.
And I, we're gonna get to this, but the the way that these books were published 22 years apart, the first novel, and then kind of the um, other side of that first novel,
Hmm.
and it's just like I was so astounded reading it, like the way it brought such a deeper understanding to the world, to the character, to the uh, experience of this character's faith
Yeah.
and his growth as a human being, as a person who wrestled with his faith. It was just it's so good that it's hard for me to like not get lost in how much I loved it.
That's
I've
really
never seen you
awesome.
I've never seen you fangirl before. This is amazing.
This is
Um,
I told him, I was like, well, either I'm going to throw up the entire time or I'm just gonna like
uh,
babble nonstop because I can't stop thinking about how much I love these books.
uh,
But
but in the distance between them, it just proves how relevant and how subversive the story and the characters still were, and how much the world has evolved but not evolved
Yeah.
Mhm.
over the last two decades. You know,
Evolved
did it?
and devolved in
You know,
this
Yes.
yeah,
country. Yeah.
yeah, did it feel different writing uh, Kushiel's Servant 2 decades later, or
Uh, Not really in regard to subversive content, because in a lot of ways it's less subversive. But one of the equivalences I wanted to draw, a lot of people react strongly to the sexual content of Kushiel's legacy, which you're meant to do. I took the eroticized violence that's present in so much of our fiction and popular culture and kind of turned it inside out and put it in the foreground. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to look away from this. And you're in the first person point of view, so you really can't.
Yeah.
Um, and that, I think, is part of what made it so innovative and groundbreaking. Looking at it from the flip side, Jocelyn is raised training to be a warrior from the time he's 10 years old. Nobody blinks an eye at that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're training kids to kill? Okay. That's not sex,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So in in this world, the Terre d'Ange is the land where our heroine and later our hero are born and raised. And the people in this land are descended from the gods. Um, they worship these ancient gods. And the key precept is love as thou wilt, which in the books, it kind of encompasses this very this idea that within the bounds of consent, love is love. And the expression of that love is as long as it's within the bounds of consent, um, is is not only acceptable, it's goes so far as to almost be it's an act of worship or an act of uh, holiness, dedication to the gods. Kind of it normalizes the idea of sex work, um, for lack of a better term, because this sex work is done as an act of worship, not
Right.
just for individual pleasure. But in 2001, that was very subversive. What was it like getting s- a book that really, you know, uh, was so just? I think for many people in the U.S., this concept of like, oh, sex is
Sacred?
sex is exactly sex is sacred. It is
Yeah.
celebrated. It is There's the only thing you need to do sex appropriately is to have consent. Like, that was radical at the time. So, as you were kind of going out and trying to get this book published, what was that experience like?
Well, I do know that there were a couple of editors who've told me after the fact, I really wanted to go all in on and bid on this, and I got cold feet. But essentially, I was extremely fortunate to find first an agent who fell in love with the book, the first book, and then it really made a genuine love connection with my editor at Tor, who was, willing to go to the mat to champion this. And I think having that consensuality amongst adults as an absolute sacred tenet of the theology is kind of the linchpin that makes it all work.
Hmm.
So
Like,
there wasn't as much pushback, at least in my face, as you might expect.
I mean, and that core tenet, we talk about this a lot, like, has it's a thread that is now through all of romanticy, right? So when you're looking at through the female gaze, and we're talking about the female gaze, consent is such a key part. We actually have a podcast coming up where we're talking to a narrator about consent across genres, because the consent aspect is such a key piece to the romance and genre romance, and to romanticy in particular, and is still talked about as the one of the big differences between the female gaze and the male gaze is the consent, and just baking that into the religion and worship changes the whole tenor of the discussion.
Yeah.
It it's not like all of the sex in the book is vanilla. And
Well,
I don't want to spoil anything, and I feel like that's part of a spoiler, but like
no,
but it's
it's not
all
a spoiler. I mean, as a heroine, Phaedra is God touched to experience pain as pleasure. And there are reasons that I go deeper into the theology of that as well over the course of the trilogy. But one of the things that was very important was doing the research to treat those elements with integrity. And the BDSM community has been well in advance of the vanilla community in terms of negotiating consent and understanding exactly why it needs to be a sacred tenet, ideally, but certainly
mhm.
a social tenet.
When you were, I mean, I how much did Google come into play for you or whatever your search engine was at the time? Like, I can't imagine your search engine history, as you're writing this.
in '99
Oh,
there
I'm
was
on.
Alta Vista.
Well, but, like, I imagine, that, because Google was not, at your fingertips, that this research and you had to research not just, like, within the BDSM community, but there's so much that's brought into these books, from various faith traditions and cultures and, languages and geography, like, so I mean, you've
Yeah, it's a lot of
written.
research.
Yes, so what was that like? How.
um, I kind of once I have an idea where I'm going, both plot wise and in terms of geography and history, I can front load the research. So there will be stacks of books around my house that will range from um, tenets on Roman sexuality to contemporary travel books. To I like to go with historical research. Sometimes it's really useful to go as far back in the source material as you can. Um, there's some great travel writing, like 18th century travel writing that is enough to open doorways into worlds that were.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of hands-on research before we had Google, and even
When Did you have a background doing this type of research outside of
Uh,
writing?
Not really. I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm a good researcher. I enjoy doing it.
Well, it definitely shows.
And now, is there a librarian out there somewhere that's like, I love I love Jacqueline. She came in and I had to like find the coolest books.
I wish there was, but I'm such a fortress of solitude writer that it's usually just me in a corner with a volume. Then 6 months later, people will go, "That's what you were up to. We had no idea."
Right.
So, in this world where sex sex and consent is worship, is sacred, is something that, you know, even children understand that this is part of, without graphic detail to the acts themselves, but that this concept of love as thou wilt is the driving force that sets their society apart from other societies. They're aware that in their world, outside of the borders of Terdange, that there are a whole variety of approaches to human sexuality
Hmm.
that are, and they understand that this is core to their world. And then in this world where, the vast majority of people in Terdange are following this precept, you have Jocelyn. You have a whole category, a small category of people who take a vow of celibacy. Um, so that, I can see how that is an important conflict for Phaedra and Jocelyn. But then coming back and writing Cassiel's servant from Jocelyn's point of view so much later, what was it that made you want to write uh, from his point of view at this particular point in time?
There actually was a very specific experience that led to that. I was asked to contribute a sonnet for a fundraiser for an organization I've supported. And I kind of polled my readers. I'm like, who would you want to see a sonnet to and from? And they said, from Jocelyn to Phaedra. And all right, well, I'll just sit down and write an Elizabethan sonnet, as one does. And I
Clearly.
did. But it was also the first time that I'd put myself squarely in his head and given voice to his thoughts in his own words, constrained by 14 lines. Um, and it was really compelling. And it kind of stuck with me. And I'm like, oh, the thing I said I'd never do, because it was one of the things I try to say never, but probably never, was write Jocelyn's version of the story. And it stuck with me, and finally I'm like, all right, I've got a proposal for you, Tor. What do you think? And they're like, bring it on. But
I
it
think,
also afforded me the opportunity to look deeper into his faith, which does serve as a foil to the rest of Terdange.
yes. I loved it. And I read on your website that one of the things that you say is that for people, I mean, these are fantasy books that
Mhm.
have both romance and sex, which are not always the same thing. Um, Often are actually quite divorced from each other in fantasy.
Right.
Um, and uh, Phaedra's trilogy is, I mean, it is fantasy. It is, as our beta reader said, it is proper noun central. Um, our beta readers are like, there's so many proper nouns in your first 5 chapters. Like, there's locations and people who have proper noun titles, and I'm like,
Okay.
yes, it's fantasy.
I hadn't heard that definition of fantasy before.
Neither had I. But I was like, I
That
see what you're
works.
saying. It is a lot of proper nouns. Um, and you wrote, I think on your website is where I read it, that Cassiel's servant, because it does start like, I feel like
Mm,
it is a little easier point of entry
yeah.
to this world. So what would you say about reading order? Would you, for people who are interested in reading?
Yeah, I think it's kind of dealer's choice when it comes to Cassiel's servant, but for anybody who cracked open Kushiel's dart and went, "Whoa, I am noping out of this. That is too many proper nouns. It is too dense, too much intrigue." One of the questions I asked myself constantly writing Cassiel's servant was, "Does Jocelyn give a damn?" And the answer is often no. Intrigue? No. He's this patrician snob. That is beneath him. Couture? I think not. Is it sturdy? Will it last a generation? um, so there was a whole bunch of stuff that I could just kind of cut out because it was not something that this main character would be observing, processing, commenting on, thinking about. So as a result, it's a lot more accessible.
Yes. Well, and as I said, I've started on the second trilogy, which is from a male protagonist's point of
Hmm.
view. Starts when this person, Imriel, is like 12 or 13, I think. Um, he's quite young. He's
Yeah.
still in his teen years, which is about the Castiel servant really picks up when Jocelyn's 10 years old, which is when his big life adventure starts.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so fascinating because they are such different characters, how Jocelyn perceives and moves through the world, even as a young man, um, compared to Imriel, because they are so different and what they're paying attention to and what
Hmm.
matters to them is so different.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah,
that's just been a really fun for me, like this fun juxtaposition of these two
Yeah,
younger
that's
male
interesting.
characters.
I haven't thought about that juxtaposition in particular.
I mean, one of the things that I find really interesting about fantasy in the first person point of view, first is how much the reader trusts that 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 point of view, even though it's limited and biased. And one of the things that's really interesting about this viewpoint is how different the point of views are and what they care about and what they're paying attention to. And to the extent that you can even like change how approachable the world is based upon how much they're digging into the intrigue and what matters to them and where their head and perception is at. Although on the fantasy, I don't know that you can have too much. I'm a hardcore fantasy fan. Like it's really hard to build a world that's too much. So um, you know opening up Kushiel's dart and digging in. Although I say opening up, I'm actually listening to it because
Hmm.
your writing is so good to listen to and
Oh, that's
is
lovely to hear. Thank you.
like um so lyrical and the audio is fantastic. Like it just absorbs you and you can just listen to it and like get transported. And by far it is the best read out loud book I have ever had on audiobook. Like,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I'm not a huge audiobook listener, but I went back and forth, and then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to just listen because it just tickled a part of my brain with the lyricism and the flow of the words, and I actually felt like I was getting more out of it
You know,
hearing
the
it.
the narrator for the first trilogy, Anne Flosnick, has always said, even recently, after 25 years, that's one of her very favorite books she's ever worked on. So it was a labor of love.
Did you get to pick the narrator?
In that instance, no, I didn't. I think I was so much of a newbie that they just were like, "Yeah, you'll get who you get." And it ended up being an award-winning author narrator who loved what she was working on. So yay.
And it's interesting too that so I listened to the audiobook of the original trilogy, Cassiel's Servant, and now I'm starting on the second trilogy, and they all have like that slightly they all have they're not American sounding. Which I think is part of what is also transportive about
Yeah.
um about the audiobooks, because you are like in these, you have built such a rich world while also, kind of pulling it's very clear that you've pulled from real world inspirations, multiple real world inspirations, that like my little American brain is like reading
Yeah, I
and like,
just
oh,
uh posted something to the effect of this island that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump are attempting to buy in Albania. I'm like, yeah, that's right next door to Kazan Atrabiati's secret hideaway.
uh,
It's not undiscovered, people.
right.
Which is also
So
the only language I've drawn on that had a linguist go, okay, I got everything else you've done, but what did you base Illyrian on? And I was like,
did you
haha,
base Illyrian on?
Albanian.
Oh, really? Oh,
Mhm.
I see. I did not. I didn't know. I mean, I picked up on a lot, but I have not had any exposure to Albanian, so I would not
It's
have.
my only exposure to Albanian too.
How did you do that? Were you like getting your English to Albanian and Albanian to English dictionary and like,
Uh,
because Google Translate was not a thing?
I think Babelfish might have been a thing at that point.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Um,
Going on.
so I don't actually remember the process for that. Usually it involves me writing down lots and lots of lists of words and then combining syllables if I'm adapting and inventing and
So how? I mean, you've definitely pulled from various like folklore, mythology, cultural traditions, language. Um, as we've been writing our book and getting feedback, the idea of what's the line between inspiration and appropriation. So, for people who don't know, our daughter is adopted from Ethiopia, and our book has a lot of Ethiopian inspiration because we felt like we have not seen a lot of fantasy focused on Ethiopian culture and traditions and heroes, and that was really important. She's been, involved in that and excited about that. But there is like this, it's not our culture. It's kind of
Mhm.
hers, but she was adopted and very much is American. So how do you think about that line in your writing between inspiration and appropriation?
Um, that's always a tough one that you have to deal with on a case by case basis. Um, I think for me, as long as you are treating whatever material you're looking at with as much integrity as is humanly possible, that's the key to finding that staying on the right side of that thin line.
Mhm.
Um, Tons of research, of course. I travel when I'm able to. The closer you can get to whatever lived experiences you want to draw on. Um, there's also sometimes some plasticity when you're dealing with history and fantasy.
Mhm.
I may have gotten tons of stuff wrong with the Picts because I was drawing on what research existed at the time, which was
Mhm.
basically a list of kings' names and some drawings. I think there's been more research now that I could find myself on the wrong side of.
Mhm.
Carthage is another one where I really could not find much on historical Carthage, so I did my best.
So, so you mentioned travel a couple times. Where do you like to travel? How do you like to travel? Like kind of a planes, trains, or automobile kind of question.
Trains ideally, but, uh, yeah, I love to travel. I've drawn on as much as I can, either directly or extrapolating sometimes. Um, I spent a summer on the island of Crete in Greece, and that's something I ended up drawing on in Kushiel's Chosen. On the other hand, I knew I wanted to journey to China in the Nama trilogy, so that I was able to do ahead of time and just really immerse myself in the landscape.
Wow. So that brings me up to your, in my mind, like when I think about what it would have taken to do everything you did in the first book that has set up so much, just like plot upon plot upon subplot upon subplot upon subplot. And like, oh, you did mention them that one time at the very beginning, and now they're coming back. Um, I imagine you have like, I don't like spreadsheets and like detailed like plot outline. No? What?
This is a really crowded space. This space in here, very crowded. I would like to say, yes, I've got index cards and all of that. No. Flowcharts, no. In the
Just the
course
world's biggest working memory.
Just a huge working memory. Okay.
I've also kind of jettisoned a lot of things. Like, don't ask me who I went to junior high with. I have no idea.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But
But I do spend a
God,
lot of time stitching back and forth through manuscripts in the process of writing because I need to refresh my memory. It's not, I can't Rolodex it up like that. But
wow. So
yeah, there's no method.
do you have like a marked up version of each of your books that you're like, no, you just are like going back through? Wow.
I so hardcore relate to this.
Because we're so different. And writing a book together has definitely revealed that I'm very much a plotter and he's very much a discovery writer.
Oh, I plot.
Uh,
I just do
uh,
it in here.
wow. I
um,
need like written.
yeah, that's why I think one of the only ways you can learn to write a novel is by writing a novel because no two writers have the same process. No collaborative team is going to have the same process. And what works for me is not by any means what works for most writers. And what works really well for some writers, I'm like, I wish I could do that, but
So when you think about like the very first Never See the Light of Day novel that you wrote compared to now, how much has your process changed or stayed the same?
um well, I would say with the first novels, the very first one was derivative as heck. And I knew it. I didn't want it to be true, so I kind of pretended to myself that it wasn't. But I know exactly where every element I didn't just appropriate, I stole, came from. Um, so I think one of the things that having that be rejected and going, okay, that really was. Uh, it pushed me every time I got a rejection, I'd say, I got to write something better. And everything I wrote up until Kushiel's Dart taught me something in some way. I wrote a coming of age novel that, again, was pretty self indulgent, but it had 5 characters and a boundless amount of dialogue, and I learned how to handle dialogue from writing that book.
Wow.
So I think it really, for me, that process was about filling my toolbox.
Hmm.
And now I'm looking for new challenges.
What does that mean? Tell us more about that.
Just wrapped up the major creative edit on a new book called The Avalon Society, which will be coming out next June. And all I'm going to say about it at this point is I wanted to write something that nobody could look at and go, oh, yeah, that's AI. I've seen that before, because you've never seen it before.
Nice.
I'm so excited.
That is the best pitch. That's all I need.
Yes, definitely not written by AI. I'm sold. Sold. So one thing that I'm just uh, from a craft perspective, when you were set out to write Kushiel Start,
Mhm.
um, the was there anything that surprised you along the way of writing, um, or discoveries about the story or the characters that you got to that end of writing, you're like, okay, you got to the end for the first time, um, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was writing a book about X, Y, or Z.
No. In
You
a
knew exactly
nutshell.
what you wanted to say, and
Um, yeah, those all of the Kushiel's legacy books, I think maybe the depth and breadth overall was a surprise, but because they are such complicated plots, no, I've never had that experience where it's like, and then this character just decided he wanted to hijack the story and take it in a whole different direction. And I've heard writers say that, and that can work for people. It
Mhm.
it's not part of my process.
Yeah, I will say we thought we were writing a romance novel. We wrote a fantasy novel. We're not even close to a romance. Like, we really thought that it was not. We also discovered that like there are so many. We knew what we wanted. We got to the end of the story and we're like, oh, this is actually a much more challenging inner conflict that our protagonist is going through than we thought we were going to be writing about. Uh, so we were quite surprised to
Well,
discover this.
that's why there's an editing process.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about your editing process? So, like, from your kind of first draft to publication, um,
This is probably
how.
another reason why I don't get surprised by works in progress. I am very much an edit as you go writer. And, some writers are like, get that first draft down. That's all that matters. Everything can be fixed in editing. And my brain just doesn't work that way. I can't move forward until I know exactly uh, that everything is in place and there are no major changes and it's as perfect as I think I can make it. So my first drafts take a long time, but they are quite clean. And then editing will come in the form of feedback from my actual editor.
And then I think that process makes a lot of sense when you're trying to carry forward something like "Love As Thou Wilt" and the consent and the worship around the whole range of sexual experience, and that would be very difficult to discovery right and make sure that you have like a cohesive theme. So knowing that that's like rock solid before you move on to the next part of the story makes total sense, and it very much comes through as you read it. And if you're going to be subverting
Yeah.
expectations, making sure stuff is rock solid before someone else reads it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say that having had people read our stuff when we weren't there, and we're like, no, it's doing what we meant it to do, and they're like, but that wasn't clear 5 paragraphs ago, and
5 chapters
so,
ago.
so it didn't build right.
Yeah.
So that that
And
that that
sometimes
building.
that happens where I think I've been absolutely crystal clear too. And my editor will be like, yeah, I'm not sure what you were going for in this scene here. And then I'm like, oh, well, it was rock solid in my mind.
Clear to me, but
Yeah.
okay. Yes.
Yeah,
We
the editing process, I will say, even at times when you're not 100% in sync with a good professional editor, I have always felt that the book was better for the process.
yes,
Just
that's
plug for the hardworking editors there.
yes. We we've had the conversation having gone through a professional developmental edit that came back and was shocking to us in the type of feedback that we were getting because we're like, but that's not what the story we're trying to write. And so we had this back and forth with this editor, and we're like, we're trying to do this. And she's like, okay, that's great. You got to set that up better at the beginning because you
Mhm,
were just making the wrong promises. That was
mhm,
like the phrase. And I think until that experience, we'd heard that before, but didn't really know what that meant.
mhm.
And so I think there's a lot of people who have to like end up cutting and rewriting things maybe towards the end of their book. We had to rewrite many chapters at the beginning of our book to get us on the right path because the end was where we were trying to go. So just a fascinating process of working with an editor. Um, what do you like that process, or is it kind of like I know I'm going to come out on better for it, but it
It's more the latter. Sometimes I like it more than others, but mostly I like it when it's over and I can say, "The book is the best that the 2 of us could possibly make it."
what about beta readers? Do you work with beta readers still, or
Not really.
mm,
And that's, again, me and my fortress of solitude process. Um, I have
well,
one beta reader, my partner, who I mostly just gauge her reactions for feedback.
you're like sitting on the sofa watching?
Well,
That's
she'll
great.
speculate on where she thinks something might be going or what I'm trying, 'cause at this point, she kinda knows all of my tricks. Uh, so if I can get a little window into what you think I'm doing, that will help me tell me whether I'm doing what I think I'm doing right.
Well, I definitely don't think you should argue with the process because the process works. So
I'm
Fortress of
sticking with it.
Solitude it is.
Yeah.
It's
Um
quirky, but it's mine.
yeah, so over the last 25 years, uh the series has really gotten a big following, and some of the big names in current romantasy like Penn Cole, like reference Kushiel's dart as as inspiration, and as a reason that they decided to start writing in the romantasy genre, and actually expressing some freedom within the title of romantasy to not just do genre romance, and actually do romantic fantasy, or sweeping fantasy with romantic subplot. uh you know do you read any of the current romantic fantasy romantasy?
I come from the straight fantasy world. Not straight, but the queer side of the straight fantasy world. um, so I'm delighted that it exists and to have helped open the door for that. But it is not my default pleasure read
What books were you reading as a kid that kind of
that were
uh
influential
paved the way? Yeah.
for me. Probably the biggest one would be in historical fantasy, and that would be Mary Renault's novels set in ancient Greece that brought to life various myths and historical. Uh, Alexander the Great's journey was influential. Um, Richard Adams, who's known best for Watership Down, also wrote a fantasy Shardik that was a big influence. It's one of the first things I saw that incorporated really gritty world building and powerful religious elements in
Mhm.
fantasy. stuff that I'm like, that is the juicy stuff I want to play with.
And
Um, and then all of
what
the kids' standards, Narnia.
The- Okay. I was like, say more. What are kids' standards?
uh, it's really interesting. My father handed me Watership Down and said, "It's not about bunny rabbits,"
Yeah,
and then made me read it because he was my very hardcore fantasy and allegory early in my reading. Not that I did a lot of reading when I was younger; it was very math. But Watership Down's on the list because there was this understanding of fantasy to explore the world and sci-fi to explore the world and the stories that you could tell in a sci-fi or fantasy world that were meaningful in this world, but you couldn't get away with going after directly. And your worlds being queer normative, feels like it really set up a number of the queer normative worlds that we have in um, romantasy and fantasy today, particularly in a positive light.
that's awesome.
When you were creating Terre d'Ange, was that something that was top of mind for you? Um, kind of creating a queer normative world?
Uh, yeah, I guess it was, as long as you're gonna do it, gonna inject, sexuality in the first place into fantasy and feminism, like, why not go all the way? I think it lands as less shocking, again, than you might expect in 2001, in part because I kind of took the Abrahamic faiths out of the equation in my historical world building. And when you look at where the amount of judgment comes into play, big source in Western
Hmm.
culture.
Hmm.
Um, so my Dangelines kind of derived their worldview. They very much admired the Hellenes, the Greeks, who were like, whatever.
But they do like, and this is not a spoiler because it comes up right away. Chapter 2, I think. They are like the iteration beyond an Abrahamic faith, right?
Yeah,
Like, so that was for me. So I was raised in a very, very conservative Christian family, and like 100% my parents would not have let me read something like this as a child or young person, or you know um but uh that was the I loved that treatment of the respect for a religious tradition that is, you know, worldwide, known, and then also saying, and what if that evolved? Like, just asking that
right.
question, like, what would that look like? And then building this whole kind of new thing where it has these clear links it was so well done. Um, was
Yeah.
that how did you think about that? Was that purposely, like, when you're talking about removing the kind of judgment of the Abrahamic faiths, was that like, you wanted to show like what could be? Or was that really more to serve this plot of like, let's explore sexuality in a new way?
Um, okay. The theology behind Pterodonge was inspired by there's a book called Holy Blood, Holy Grail that was popular, I think, in the 70s. And it essentially lays out the theory that Dan Brown stumbled on and used for the Da Vinci Code, that in fact Jesus and Mary Magdalene did have a child. And this premise then goes on to say it was the line of Merovingian kings in France are descended. Well, I took it a step further and decided, well, what if we instead went for a marriage of heaven and earth kind of thing and merged the wandering Dionysian fertility god with this whole hierarchical celestial situation. Um, so a lot, a lot of what I decided for the culture and the society kind of sprang from that initial, what if we merged these two really opposite things? So it wasn't, how can I justify a queer society, as much as what's going to happen if, what do I extrapolate from that?
Yeah. Well, it was fascinating to follow the way that that unfolded, and to then the way that it is, like, even when you leave Terdange and you go into the broader world, which you get to do later, you do it in the first book somewhat, and then you do it more
Hmm.
in later books. And then you have these beautiful contrasts where there's still like a respect for other experiences, but that there's also this wonderful contrast that highlights this idea that like there is this other way of thinking about things and this other
Hmm.
way of respecting a wholeness of people. Um, it's just, oh, I just love it so much, and I'm gonna start gushing again, so I'm gonna stop.
Focus.
I don't know if I've had too much coffee or not enough.
Well, I did get an email from a young Christian man many years ago who wanted to warn me. He said, "I really enjoyed your Kushiel books, but you're dealing with some kind of controversial stuff in there, and if you're not careful, you could make people think."
Oh no,
I'm like, "Oh no, it's not that."
people thinking that's the worst.
we,
um,
we love when people think.
yeah, it's my favorite thing. So, when people are reading these books, what if you could just whisper one thing in their ear that you hope that sticks with them, that they take away from them, that is the resonant message, what would that be?
Well, I think "Love as Thou Wilt" is so often quoted because it is the central tenet. And it's so often interpreted as a statement of license, as in, there are no boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it's actually a commandment as well. And it is a commandment to love.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise of these books is essentially, its theological core. What if love was a force capable of acting on this world with divine agency? And I think that's worth thinking about.
I like I said, I've just started the second trilogy, and I think you've taken that precept and applied it in a new way. The second trilogy deals with a young man who's being adopted into a family. And there's a lot of reasons why that's not an easy situation.
He is the
Um,
angstiest of angsty boys, and he has reason for it. So much reason.
yes. And I mean, there's things far beyond his control that come into play here about, that really drive his feelings, and all of them valid. He's not angsty because angsty is like the cool thing to be or the way that
Oh,
we write
no.
books. No, it's like legitimate. And I love that this core precept, this command, is already coming into play, even in thinking about how family dynamics work, and what it looks like to um, choose love, even towards people who everyone around you, it would make sense that you would despise this person or hate this person or be, not want to be close to them for a variety of reasons. Um, and it's like taking, and again, I'm just at the beginning, and so I'm sure that the trilogy is going to highlight this in other ways, but that command to love in this kind of new relationship is really, really, as
Yeah.
adoptive parents, something that I'm enjoying quite a bit. So,
And that premise of looking at it as a commandment, as I'm just thinking about it as you've said it, really also is the concept of deserving of love, right? Like, I haven't reached the point where someone doesn't deserve love in your book. Maybe maybe I just haven't got there yet. And one of the stories. But the concept that whatever you are deserves love and should be loving, and thinking of that as a commandment is a really cool question to struggle with, and to think, what what would our world look like if we made those choices.
Yeah.
It really calls into question, like, and we get this towards the in the first trilogy, a real definition of what evil actually is.
Mm.
In the last book, I think you've Phaedra goes through a lot of adventures.
Oh, yeah.
um,
Of
but I
anything
don't.
I've ever written, I know the Darshanga sequence in Kushiel's Avatar is so, so dark. And
Yes.
that was both it's a little bit of the Chekhov's gun principle in that this is a character capable of going to extremes, and we pushed her to the furthest extreme. But also, it's this bleakness that makes the brightness that follows so much brighter. And
Yes.
at that point, we are going on a quest for the name of God. It's got to be bright.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, that's
The, it, oof. the the way that it contrasts with this love is thou wilt, this command to love, and it is literally the exact opposite of, like, evil is defined as, like, what would the exact opposite of that precept be? Oh,
yeah.
it's so well done. I, mm,
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to head towards, the um you know all that bends is not weak, or, oh no, all
not
not
everything.
everything that yields is weak, or I.
Probably the second most popular phrase. That which yields is not always weak. Uh, yeah, I think that was a notion I certainly wanted to explore. When we talk about strong female characters in fantasy, it so often we're only shown one kind of strength, and I wanted to show the tremendous strength there is in resilience in the character of Phaedra, and I think that comes through.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so we've talked a lot about Kushiel's legacy. But you have many other books
Mhm.
that you've written. Can you give us a little overview of your books beyond the world of Terre d'Ange?
Uh, I can't do it briefly because there are quite a few of them, but I thought since it's Pride Month, one of the ones I would wanna highlight is Starless, which is a standalone epic fantasy set in a world wholly of my own devising. And it is some of the most just flat out exuberant storytelling that I've let myself just really revel in. But it also features a non binary protagonist and a heroine who is physically disabled, which presented some interesting creative challenges just in terms of navigation. Um, there's a scattered ragtag band of adventurers out to thwart a prophecy and save the world. A very classic epic fantasy. Um, but also really fun representation and some subtle racial commentary as well that very few people pick up on the fact that one of the only white races in this setting literally worship a two-faced god.
Oh boy.
We love this.
We are already, yes, that's obviously going to have to be where we go next because,
So yeah, I cite Starless just because I want more people. I think it should get in the hands of more people.
well, we will do our best to do that. So, can you tell us a little bit about what's? I know you said you have just finished a book that'll come out next June.
Mhm.
Um, so can you tell us what else is coming for you? Is that going to be with Wildthorn?
It is.
So for people who don't know, Tor, this is their new imprint, right? Wildthorn.
I guess they would be considered sort of a sister imprint. They're all
Okay.
under the same broader publishing house, but this is a new one for works that do bend genres in ways that are a little hard to categorize, a little unexpected. And this will definitely cross genres. It's a little bit psychological suspense. It's a little bit magic realism, maybe.
I'm so intrigued.
I'm so excited for your book, but I'm so excited for the imprints that are like, we're gonna let authors do cool things and not, pick what mold they must form into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you think that in your time in publishing, um, if obviously we're brand new to this, we're just getting started. Um, so our awareness has been quite limited. Um, do you think that over your time in publishing, there's kind of been this um, move towards like kind of bucketing people or trying to get stories more to fit into certain expectations? And now I think maybe since COVID, we're seeing that kind of move away from that again and kind of expand out to openness to new types of stories.
Um, I I would say there've been a lot of subgenres that have come and go.
Mhm.
Uh, Paranormal romance is the romantasy of the 90s, you know?
Right?
Um, I think it may have gotten to the point where we're splitting hairs so fine that it's like, well, is it romantasy or is it romantic fantasy or is it a fantasy romance? At that point, the categories are so blurred they may not be useful, and it's nice to have someone take a step back and go, we don't care what we're going to call it as long as it's fabulous.
That's exciting. Yeah. Yeah. I look forward to those types of books. I think romantasy is currently like such a marketing term and it's applied very liberally, almost to the point of having lost really a meaning because people just apply it to so many things and it's now more creating more confusion than clarity.
Yeah.
Uh, and it really, I think it's setting people up for a risk of readers, ending up with a book that they think is going to be one way and is not
Hmm.
because this term is being so broadly applied. And so trying to figure out how to describe books that are like, what if you don't fit into a clear genre and how do you set up readers to have a good experience because they are prepared for getting something that's maybe not been done before. I think that's an interesting place to be at. But
Hmm.
I have no further insight in that, just that I'm fascinated by it.
So with the run up to the publication of your new book, are there
Are you able to tell us the title?
The Avalon Society.
Oh, that's right. You did tell us
Yeah.
that, the Avalon
Unless
Society.
it
Okay.
changes.
And
We got a year yet. Anything's
is this
possible.
is it going to be a standalone or is it going to
Yeah.
be oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
This
cool.
is set, it's a near future. It's not historical fantasy.
Ooh.
The protagonist grew up in a cult of magicians, which exploded in spectacular fashion.
Wow.
That's so much
This
fun.
sounds so fun.
Sounds fabulous. So
I mean, plus psychological thriller makes me think maybe it's not as fun. But okay, I'm very excited
be
about
fun
it.
for me. It might not be
Yeah.
fun for you. uh, but so are there big plans for you over the next year? Any particular things you want to highlight, or events, or are you just going back to the Fortress of Solitude and writing something else fabulous?
Honestly, I don't know. Just kind of juggling stuff we're doing for the celebrate the 25th anniversary. And about 5 years ago, I kind of sidelined into doing some visual art, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can take a step sideways and focus on that over the summer.
That's awesome, and really do think you should take this time to celebrate the 25th year of creating something that like is still relevant 25 years later
Thank
and
you very
still
much.
meaningful, and still reaching new readers. We just found it this year. So that is, phenomenal, and you definitely should take the moment and celebrate.
Are you doing anything special to celebrate?
I'm really not. I
Like,
should have planned something big. I have a funny situation where I there's not a strong literary community where I live, and I don't have a great fan base here at home. So, like, I went to the Longest Night Masquerade in DC in January, um, and was among my people and had a fabulous time. And I felt like that was kind of my celebration year kickoff. Now I'm just home with people going, "Oh, what do you write
well, at minimum, you should get like a 2 and a 5 candle, put them on a cake, blow it out.
again?" That's a really good idea. Thank you.
I mean, hopefully you get to do way more than that because it absolutely deserves to be celebrated. And hopefully this, I think one thing that I do think is people are looking for stories like this. They're hungry for these stories that, yes, there's adventure. And yes, there's these fantastical worlds. And also, there is a really big heart
Yeah,
um, in this story. And it is so relevant for what we as a country are facing, some of the ideas that are trying to, we've kind of had this pendulum swing one way and now the pendulum's trying to maybe swing back the other way. And like we get to make choices about whether we let that pendulum keep swinging. Um,
yeah. And I think the trilogy that you're reading right now, Imriel's story, How to Be Good, is this constant refrain that he keeps returning to. And it's one we ask ourselves in this
yeah,
crazy time we live in.
yes, absolutely. Where can readers find you online? You cook on Threads, so absolutely, I'm going to tell everyone to go find you there.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. My website is jacquelinecarey.com, and there are links to all my socials. I'm on Threads, Instagram, Facebook. I still go on Twitter on occasion, and TikTok.
well, we
I'm
will
silliest
link
on
that.
TikTok.
TikTok is still a conundrum for me. I don't understand. Um, but we will link all of those in show notes for anyone who's curious. And if there was one question that we haven't asked you, um, what would it be? And can you answer it for us?
Well, I was trying to think, what are some of the favorite topics? I get asked a lot about fighting style. What did I base the Castling fighting style on? Nothing. I made it up. Misbegotten youth of watching kung fu movies. Thank you very much. And couture, fashion. I am not a seamstress. Nothing I make on the page obeys the actual laws of physics, okay? So cosplayers, I'm sorry. And that's about
I
it.
love I love that you get both in these books. Like you get
Yes.
the opportunity. Like I didn't know. I thought vambraces were sexy until Jocelyn had them. Right? Like And you get these beautiful fight scenes and this big action, and then you also get like, look, fashion is serious business. I
Oh,
need
yeah.
to have the right clothes for my endeavor that I'm about to embark on. Like, and it's real. Like, it feels so real because that is what life is like. It's not one or the other. That life is all of these things and so much more. So, um, but yes, also God bless the cosplayers.
We dabble enough to have a respect for people that can figure out how to not follow the laws of physics with their cosplay.
Yes.
Me too. I love cosplayers.
Um, well, thank you again so much for joining us. Congratulations
Thank you guys
on
so much. Thank you for having me and being such generous, gracious hosts. I'm really truly delighted that these books are having a bit of a renaissance. It's wonderful.
well, it's so well earned. It's so relevant. I like cannot tell enough people about them. I'm like, oh, well, if you are ready for the next thing, you're kind of over the same old. Let me tell you about these books. You're going to love it. But it's so well deserved. So we absolutely love them. Just cannot wait to see what is coming next. And so congratulations again.
All right. Thank you again. Best of luck to you guys with your own projects. Everybody, love as thou wilt. Be good
Oh,
to each other.
yes. That's it from us. So everyone, let us know in the comments what book you're going to read first. Is it going to be Cassiel's Servant or Kushiel's Dart or something else entirely, maybe Starless? And remember, we love you. Stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Love is out, Wilt. Happy Pride, everyone.